Hi students, once again I feel you are all right. Now we have come to the chapter of your life science, chapter 3, the physiological process of life, and it is the lecture 3. In previous lecture I have stated the photosynthesis and we have ended up to the structure of the chloroplast and all. Here we have the first phase, which is known as the light phase. You know, the photosynthesis occurs in two phases. One is light phase, the other one is the dark phase. Here we have the light phase. Here, light phase is the first phase of photosynthesis. It is the first phase of photosynthesis and it is light dependent, because if there is no sunlight, this phase is not possible. So it is light dependent. Here the solar energy is converted to chemical energy. Children, you know, whatever the energy resources are there, almost all the energy that comes from the sun, and we take the food in which the solar energy is converted into chemical energy and that is stored there. So solar energy is converted to chemical energy here. Now, chlorophyll is the most important pigment in the green plants, that you know, and it has been discussed in the last lecture also. So the chlorophyll molecules in grana, singular is granum and the plural is grana. In grana, in the chloroplast is activated by photons. Now what are photons? You know, light is energy which flows in a linear motion continuously. That is nothing but the flow of the photons. Photons are light particles with full of energy and it is coming spontaneously from the sun. So that photons they activate the chlorophyll molecules and then the water is converted to hydrogen and hydroxyl ions. So this process of breaking the water by the help of the sunlight is known as the photolysis. What it is known as? Photolysis. This is a pre-phase of the photosynthesis. Well, the water is converted to H positive plus OH negative ions, that is known as photolysis. This reaction was first observed by scientist Hill, and so it is known as the Hill's reaction, and he did it in 1937. 1937 scientist Hill has done it and his name is Robin Hill. Now here what happens, you know, NADP accepts the hydrogen is known as the Hill reactant or the Hill's reagent. Hill reactant or Hill reagent. Now after having all these, the reaction follows. So it is the Hill reagent or the reactant. Hill reagent or reactant. So children, next to come is the light activated chlorophyll molecules liberates or ejects electrons taken by the electron acceptors. And now what happens there? The chlorophyll, this is the reaction. The chlorophyll in presence of the photons, chlorophyll plus electron, it is in the oxidized form, while the chlorophyll is reduced or stable form. Now what happens here? The energy from liberated electrons is used to combine ADP. ADP means adenosine diphosphate. It's a chemical. It's a chemical which is with Pi, that is inorganic phosphate, to form ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It's a high energy having molecule in presence of sunlight. It forms in presence of sunlight, and you people know that the ATP is known as the energy coin, which the organisms keep in their mitochondria stored. While in use, they convert it into ADP, they use it, and whatever the rest is not used, that is again converted to ATP. So that is how is done in the organisms, whether it is a plant or in animals also. Well, we have the process is known as the photophosphorylation. Photophosphorylation, and this the electrons by losing the energy either return to the chlorophyll molecules or is used as to convert the normal or is oxidized from and to use as convert it to the normal state or the used to reduce the NADP molecules along with hydrogen liberated during the photolysis. And this hydrogen liberated from the photolysis, the hydrogen ions formed during the photolysis of water and electrons liberated from the light activated chlorophyll are used to reduce NADP to NADPH2 to NADPH2. Here is the reaction. The NADP plus H ions plus electron forms you NADPH2. And here is the main reaction once more. The chlorophyll in presence of the photons, the light particles, the chlorophyll, activated chlorophyll plus the electron, this is in oxidized form, while the chlorophyll undergone with the reaction with the photons were the reduced or stable form. So this is the reaction. It will come as follows. Well, children, next point is to this. The hydroxyl ions formed during the photolysis of water react. They react with the chlorophyll in oxidized form, and the molecule oxidized chlorophyll molecule to produce OH radicals. What is happening, you see, OH ions, and then after that they are forming in OH radicals. They are coming converted to OH radicals. Now as and reduced state or stable form of chlorophyll molecules, they form it to reduced or stable state of chlorophyll molecule. The OH radicals then subsequently react with each other to form water, that means H2, and oxygen as byproducts. What is the main product of photosynthesis? The main product of photosynthesis is that the sugar or glucose, which is kept by the plant stored as starch. So we have the oxygen molecules are liberated, whatever is produced, that water and oxygen molecules. So they are byproducts, and oxygen molecules which are produced are liberated in the atmosphere, and this oxygen molecule helps in the keeping of oxygen carbon dioxide balance in the atmosphere. You know that when we inhale the air, we inhale the whole mass of atmospheric air, which is having oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen and other gases also there. The important point is that the oxygen is 20% or little more, and the carbon dioxide is 0.03 to 0.04% variably. So this is when we take in, this mass goes into the lungs, and there I told you during the photosynthesis or else followed by the respiration, the food is burnt, that is food is oxidized. There what happens, you know, the oxygen is being absorbed, that means used, and carbon dioxide is liberated. Now what happens, you know, how nice a mathematical composition is there by the nature, that 20% or little more than 20%, whatever is present of oxygen which goes inside the body, but when it comes out as expiration, that means the exhaled air, we find it 4.5% less. So 4.5% is used up. Now on the other hand, how did I say you that mathematical? Because the carbon dioxide comes out with the exhalation, that increases by 4.5% of carbon dioxide. That means the 4.5% of oxygen is used and 4.5% of carbon dioxide is increased. So that is the mathematical system I wanted to say, and that the oxygen is liberated into the atmosphere, while the water molecules are reutilized. They are reutilized as the raw materials for the photosynthesis. You see here, the sun provides the energy where the photon particles are there. Water is entering here, and then water is broken down. It is happening inside the grana. That hydrogen and hydroxyl ion, and then oxygen is liberated as in the atmosphere, and water is reused in the photosynthetic process. While in the stroma, the energy is as like the ATP in phosphorylation and inorganic phosphate adding it ATP forming adenosine triphosphate, and then this is the complete reaction when the carbon dioxide is in. Carbon dioxide plus NADPH2 plus ATP plus glucose, and this is all you find inside the chloroplast, and this is a picture of the cytoplasm of a cell where you find it, and you see this reaction follows like this. The hydroxyl ion, that is hydroxyl ion, chlorophyll oxidized form with plus radicals, and then OH, the hydroxyl radical, forming chlorophyll reduced or stable form. Then this is the reaction, 4 hydroxyl radicals converting into 2 molecules of water and plus oxygen, and then the product, the end product that comes out after the photosynthesis of the photochemical phase. In the photochemical phase, the end product, that means the light reactions, are oxygen, then water, ATP as adenosine phosphate, and the NADPH2. These are the formed product of the photochemical phase. Thank you. Well, children, after the light phase, we have the dark phase. What is then the dark phase? Dark phase is a phase of photosynthesis where light is not required. That means not dependent on light. It is not dependent on light. Number 2, it is named as light independent phase, or this is known as C3 cycle or Kelvin cycle. Scientist Kelvin has watched it first, so that is why after his name it is known as Kelvin reaction or Kelvin cycle. It operates with the help of energy rich compounds which is produced in the light phase. We have ATP and NADPH2 energy rich compound which has been produced in the light phase. Though they are not dependent for the sunlight, but they definitely require the energy rich compounds like ATP and NADPH2. Rather, if these two are not present, dark phase will not be able to complete. Well, we have ATP and NADPH2 produced in the light phase. Well, we have then it occurs in stroma of the chlorophyll. The picture of the stroma has been drawn on the blackboard little ago, what you have seen. There it is taking place. Carbon dioxide is absorbed from the nature by the plants, that you know, and combined with ribulose biphosphate or RUBP, a 5-carbon sugar. It is a 5-carbon sugar to form 2 molecules of phosphoglyceric acid, which is termed as PGA, a 3-carbon sugar acid. The latter is first stable photosynthetic product. It is the first stable photosynthetic product. This process is controlled by RUBISCO, that is RUBP carboxylase oxygenase. So RUBP carboxylase oxygenase, and this is the key enzyme for carbon dioxide fixation in the green photosynthetic plants. In green photosynthetic plants, role of RUBISCO. It helps in carbon dioxide fixation and convert ribulose biphosphate. It converts ribulose biphosphate to 3-carbon sugar phosphate, that is phosphoglyceric acid, phosphoglyceric acid or PGA. Well, number 4 point is the PGA is reduced to phosphoglyceraldehyde, that is PGALD, with the help of ATP. I told you energy rich molecules which are produced in light phase that is required. So they use ATP and NADPH to what in this line we have already stated that these two are the product of the light phase. While it is happening, then PGA is reduced to phosphoglyceraldehyde, that PGALD, with the help of ATP and NADPH2, and generates in the light phase. What is generated? Produced in the light phase. Well, a portion of PGALD, that means phosphoglyceraldehyde molecule, later condensed to produce the glucose, that means 2 molecule of this produces 1 molecule of glucose. 2 molecules of PGALD converts to 1 molecule of glucose, and then remaining PGALD, that means phosphoglyceraldehyde molecules, are used to regenerate RUBP to continue the process. So this is the dark phase, and here to come the significance of dark phase. Okay. So children, we have gone through the dark phase. Before that we have already come to know about the light phase, then dark phase, and the product of the photosynthesis. Now we have to see the significance of this. So significance, for photosynthesis, life is possible on the earth. You know, if there was no photosynthesis, no life was possible on the earth. Because if the photosynthesis is not there, the production of the food for all organisms which is done by the green plants would have been stopped. But one thing, do you think that the plants are producing food for us or for the other animals? No, it's never. They are producing food only for their generation to keep. But it's a boom of the nature that they produce the food in a huge amount. So huge the amount is that they use it for keeping their future generation. Thus the plants generation is continued on the earth. They supply the food materials directly to the animals, those who take the plants directly, or the plant products, the herbivores and the grain eaters and all those. And then we people, those who are omnivores, they feed on directly them and also indirectly from their product. For example, we have meat. Now the meat comes from the plants. Oh sir, you are telling the lie. No, my child, it is not that. The herbivorous animals from which we get the mutton, say a he-goat, then the he-goat feeds on the plant products because it's a herbivore. Then we take the meat from it. So we are taking the plant product indirectly, and directly fruits, vegetables, grains, that means all the cereals that we take, pulses. We also get some medicines and all those from the plants. So if there was no photosynthesis, this could not have been possible at all, and the earth, in absence of the plants, would have been desolate place. And my dear children, what is desolate place? That means where there is no life, where there is no life. So it would have been that. So photosynthesis is a very, very important process. Let's see once more. what is done in photosynthesis? Entrapping of the solar energy. The solar energy which comes from the sun towards the earth is by means of the particles called photons, and they are in kinetic form. That means the energy in motion. That is entrapped by chlorophyll, and then entrapping of solar energy is done. It is kinetic phototype potential energies, and which is converted into chemical energy in the form of ATP and reduced NADP. So, kinetic energy is kept as chemical energy in the potential form. There is no movement, so it is a potential form. So, that is what there, and stored as the chemical energy. Well, the second thing is that the preparation of the food. The plants prepare the food by entrapping the solar energy, taking some other ingredients like the carbon dioxide absorbed from the atmosphere. Obviously, the plant has the roots and the root hairs. They are supplying continuously the sap, that means the water along with the minerals, which takes a key factor for the plants to produce and prepare the food. So all this preparation comes to the civilization, and as the photosynthesis lapses, the civilization will decline, but it is not going to happen because the nature has the bone to keep the green plants alive, so we will become alive also. On the other hand, there is another point, the balance of carbon dioxide and oxygen. You know, in the air, out of, we take the full mass of air or atmosphere 100%. In 100% we have the oxygen, carbon dioxide, noble gases, water vapor, and the other gases are there, comprises 100%. In 100%, say about roughly 20% is the oxygen, and only 0.03 to 0.04% is the carbon dioxide. It is variable because where there are plenty of vehicles, factories and all those are there, the carbon dioxide percentage goes up to 0.04%. Now I told you little ago in my lecture that oxygen, what we take as inhaled oxygen, that means for the respiration, not only us, it is taken by plants also. Plants also do respiration as the animals do, and the other animals also do. So they release the oxygen, but in humans you see it is a nice mathematical calculation is there that the 20% of oxygen is absorbed, but when it comes out as exhaled air, you see 16 point something percent. So 4.5% of oxygen is used, and that is found in the carbon dioxide because that is increased by 4.5%. So this is how the balance of the carbon dioxide and oxygen is kept mobile by photosynthesis, because the liberated oxygen is released to the atmosphere to maintain the balance of the nature. And on the other hand, the animals and the plants are interdependent, because the carbon dioxide released by the human beings as respiration product, they are taken by the carbon dioxide that is taken by the plants to prepare their food. So they are leaving oxygen, we are leaving carbon dioxide. They are getting carbon dioxide, we are getting oxygen. So this is the interdependence. And the next lecture will show you the four-way carbon traffic and to advance with the photosynthetic mineral nutrition and all. Till then, today, thank you, study well and have a nice time.